Our next two speakers are Jeff Sinclair and Graham Menzies, and as you can see from the really bizarre font there, they're going to talk to the story of Xomo. And if you don't know Xomo, you may know the app that was used by the Vancouver Olympics on the smartphones. And so this story is very interesting. So Jeff co-founded Xomo in 2009 to deliver world-class mobile apps for events. And Xomo's location-aware event guide product is being used by large festivals and events worldwide, including the official Vancouver 2010 Olympic smartphone guide. So this is Jeff's second kick at the can. This is the third? Yeah, second kick at the can as a CEO. So he was CEO of The Level before. It was a company that was producing global content management software for customers such as Google. And before that, he managed the online financial community of Stockhouse.com, if you remember Stockhouse.com during the bubble years. In 2007, Jeff completed the ACE Tech Growth Strategy Program, and he won Business Vancouver's Top 40 Under 40 Award. And Jeff also has a lot of philanthropy in his blood. He co-founded the Vancouver Canary Derby, which just ran 2 weekends ago. Yeah, which is an annual event for raising funds for cancer research. Graham Menzies is the former director of online communications, this is a long one, publications and editorial services for the Vancouver Organizing Committee for the 2010 Olympic and Paralympic Winter Games. Did that even fit on a card? Directeur de communication, blah, blah. In addition to all of the VANOC official, in addition to being responsible for all of VANOC's official print publications, he was responsible for Vancouver2010.com's website and VANOC's social media presence. Graham, who's currently at UBC, is a seasoned communications professional with international experience in a variety of industries and challenges. He has held several executive level positions, including spending 5 years at Microsoft as a program manager of executive relations. I mean, who invents these titles? It's great. So Jeff and Graham are going to make separate presentations, unlike our previous two presenters. And Graham, I think you're up first. And then after this session, we'll bring everybody back on stage for some questions. Let me just put up your presentation.
Actually, we're going to present together.
You are?
Stay close. Yeah.
Nice.
Keep it in.
Who's going to hold the button?
I'll drive.
Yeah. I'll let Jeff drive. Because despite all my technology credentials, I've printed hard copies. And I need to flip through them. In addition to that, I've even used yellow stickies. So some technologies never die. So how we're going to do this is I'm just going to, with Jeff's help, sort of go through the first little bit, and then Jeff will carry on. And I'd be happy to click for you later if you like, because I need my hands. But what we thought we'd do is maybe I can just provide a little background on what we were doing at the Olympics, and then we can provide the context in which the mobile app fits in. So. The main thing, of course, for us was Vancouver2010.com. It was enormously successful, and my little yellow stickies here, I jotted down some more stats for you. The 105 million unique visitors there, that's what we got over the 2 years leading up to and including the games. But if we look just at the games themselves, we had 83 million unique visitors in the month of February this year. That generated about 105 million visits. To provide some context around that, because it's a very big number, it was 3 times the number of site visits of the Beijing Summer Games. It was triple what Yahoo got on their Olympic-oriented site. They had about 32 million. And it was quadruple the traffic that NBC Olympics got to their site. Part of that, of course, is because ours was a global website. NBC Olympics, of course, was just the United States.
And it was in French and English, right?
It was indeed in French and English. There's a lot of text, and that's where the publications and editorial services part fits in, because every word on there had to go through that team. In terms of Canadians, it was 76% of all Canadians with internet access visited the site in February of 2010, and on a worldwide basis, that's 4.8%. I don't know if you knew that one. Yeah, so there you go. So a lot of traffic to that site, and it was a very important communication vehicle to us. As was mentioned in my intro, we also had some social media initiatives as well, and we were able to do a few firsts here. So very proud of the work we were able to do there, although none of it rocket science by today's standards so many months later. But leading up to the games, it was still very much an evolving strategy. And so consequently, the 2010 games were actually the first games ever to have a Facebook page. So it was the first official Facebook page for an Olympic Games. Also the first games ever to be tweeted. I'm sure all the remaining ones will be, but these were the first. And in terms of the fan numbers, just a little over 1 million Facebook fans, and during the games, about 14,000 followers on Twitter, which compared to mainstream media, in some cases was about double than what a major television outlet in the country may have had. We also used video extensively during the games. We had a lot of video content on the website. We had 1 million views, 1 million downloads of the videos that we had on YouTube, and we're the first games ever to have a daily host video. So we actually did a host video every day. That was about a 3-minute segment, and of course, one in English and one in French.
The website was also interesting. When I first started talking to Graham, so no Olympic website had ever had anything social media about it before. Beijing didn't have a Facebook page, or an official one anyway. Wasn't allowed to use the word Twitter or dig or anything on their website. So Graham was instrumental in helping the IOC see the larger picture as to why they need to embrace these technologies. And it's really good to see now the IOC is, they've now got, they were bragging about having over 1 million fans now, and they're really adopting this as well. So there's a lot of change, and that really came about during Vancouver 2010. Yeah, no, and it's a good point too, because in new technologies, and I'm sure with new businesses too, and as the gentleman speaking ahead of us were saying, you know, a lot of it is uncharted territory, and there's new stuff and there's wrinkles that you encounter along the way, and you just have to persevere and work through those issues. So it was definitely an issue. If you look on the way that's represented there, you've got the Olympic rings very close to the Facebook logo and the Twitter logo. That was a whole new thing for the IOC to get comfortable with, and you know, we had to work at that one, and we did. But then the other thing that was interesting and new and a first ever was our Mobile Spectator guide. Of course, it worked across a variety of devices, but the interesting little bit of background for this was the genesis, and the genesis of it, going back to my title with the publications, was to see if we could find a way to replace some of our print costs. Because typically an organizing committee with any number of ticket holders and spectators would print a very large number of spectator guides. And we did print a lot of spectator guides, but not nearly as much as Torino or Beijing had. And part of the reason why was we thought, you know, we can do this in a mobile way. So when we hooked up with Jeff and had that conversation, it was very much about how do you take what in the olden days would have been entirely a print publication and make it available as an electronic and mobile one. So lots of challenges with that particular item as well. As you can see from some of the screenshots there, there's lots of sports, I think 15. If I remember correctly. Lots of cultural events too. So it's not only all the sport events, but also all the Cultural Olympiad events were included on there. Also 2 host cities. So you had the Vancouver geography, but you also had the Whistler geography. And then you had a number of venues for each one of those as well. So on that piece of real estate, it took quite a bit of work to try and figure out how are you going to be able to portray that information and have it there so that it's easy to find. Yeah, there's over 2,000 events, 17 days, 150 venues, and it was in French and English.
Yes.
I always rub that point in because it drove him crazy.
It's another challenge just to throw in there. And then that's all I want to say about that one. And this is my favorite part of it, actually, despite all the information that's there on all the sport events and all the cultural events and all the different places and the venues and the times and the medals. I really like that if you shook it, you got this neat little animated cartoon of the mascots going through there. It sounds like a little trivial thing, but you know, when we were going through the process, I remember we sort of reached a point and we thought, well, wait a minute, we've almost forgotten that for a lot of people this is fun. You know, this is a vacation, this is an adventure, and sure, they need all this information and they need to be able to find it, and it needs to be accurate and needs to be accessible, but we also want it to be fun, so that if you're sitting waiting for the bus, or if you're in a crowded place somewhere and, you know, hey, have you seen this thing shaking? It just added a little novelty to it, and I think it really helped with the pickup. Yeah,
it helped to go viral for sure. It was funny watching it go around the world. So in the space of, we launched the app, it sort of grew momentum, but by the first weekend, like this is sort of 10 days to go before the games, you watch the tweets go around the world when people started discovering this, because we didn't tell people about it. So they had to like put the phone down and they see this video and they try and work out how to do it. And there were people in Japan, all around the world, tweeting about this thing. And we even had people tweeting saying, my kid won't give me my phone back, or no one tweeted that they broke their phone, but I'm sure there's a few who helps to go viral for sure.
So on that point of the pickup, we can just show the graph on how we did worldwide. So 1 million downloads over those 2 weeks, #1 ranking in a number of different countries. I thought it was phenomenally successful locally, which was what it was originally designed for, is to help the spectators that were on the ground, both in Vancouver and in Whistler. So it was enormously helpful to people here. It was popular in Canada, and as you can see there, with about 28%, but also around the world. I think it really helped us extend some of our branding and other messaging about the games. It's a very soft, subjective thing that we wanted to include in all our communications, but I think it did help project a positive image of the games in the country and around the world.